Bitcoin makes a short-lived mission to instill confidence back into the bulls. Major alts continue to dump pretty much across the board, while the mid to low sat altcoin markets continue to show mild signs of price appreciation. Options trading is coming alive to a CME desk near you. The IMF talks stablecoins, and EA Sports, it's in the game, pumps Bitcoin's price. What's the right move moving into the weekend? Find out in today's exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin. Welcome to Breaking Bitcoin, recorded live here in the studio. Of course, it is Friday, September 20th, 2019, foul year of our Lord. I'm your host, Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at crackingcryptocurrency.com. Hopefully you guys are doing absolutely fantastic wherever you happen to be tuning in from across this fantastic spaceship of a rock that is floating through space, orbiting around a massive flaming ball of gas that will die of heat death and exhaustion here in about 2.7 billion years. Billy with a B. And whether you happen to be watching us on this wonderful spaceship from YouTube, Twitch, DLive, Facebook Live, or on Roku with the Investor News Channel app. If you want to support the show, make sure to subscribe, follow, share, and engage in the live chat. I want to give you guys just an indication of how fantastic today's show is going to be. I know exactly where to start. I'm going to start with a word from our sponsor, and of course, that is the Cracking Cryptocurrency Premium Trading Group. If you are a new aspiring or experienced trader looking to sharpen your skills, make sure to check out the link in the description down below to see all that the group can offer for you. Now, let's not waste any time. You know, guys, we're going to be moving into the weekend. And by the way, if you hear that annoying sound out back, it's because they're chopping down a tree. I just love how people schedule things around my schedule. But hey, you know, that's okay. Just living my best life, guys. Just living my best life, as I'm sure those guys are as well. Now, we're going to start off today's show, as we always do, by giving away some cryptocurrency, 8,000 Spectre to be precise. I want to thank this month's crypto comment giveaway sponsor, Spectre Security Protocol, Spectre Security Coin. Make sure to go check them out at spectresecurity.io. And with that said, let's hop over into the live scene, give some crypto away, and break down Bitcoin's price and see what's going on with you guys. Let's go. Okay. Yes. Oh, hey, there you are. What's going on? Hopefully you're doing well over there. Okay. Dark Rico, Ricky Thompson, Ankit Danraj, Ron Legato, man, I always get this wrong. Umanemone. Yeah, Unanemone. Hugo Chill, Mrs. Gonzalez. What's going on? Here we are in the live scene. Let's give away some crypto. We're going to load comments. Yesterday's video was live. Altcoin market did not expect this. Bitcoin makes its move while investors fear crypto hacks. Make sure to go check out yesterday's video. We did talk extensively about just good ways to protect yourself in the crypto space, regardless of the size of your account. We also talked about the difference in fears between individuals who have large amounts of cryptocurrency to compare to individuals that have small amounts of cryptocurrency. And I think that phenomenon is very similar to, let's randomly pick a winner while I'm just talking here. PNW Flipper is the winner today. He says, I just wanted to say a big thank you for everything that you do. I enjoy the videos you post. They are always informational and you are always right to the point and positive with your messages. And don't get down when the market doesn't go your way. You are a great educator. Keep doing what you are doing. They like me. They really like me. Okay, no, thank you, man. Thank you so much, man. And of course, you've been a regular for a while. Highly appreciate the support, my good friend. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the Discord. And when you hit me up in the Discord, I will send you some crypto, my good friend. All right, now let's get over into the live scene with this button. It didn't work. That button did not work. Oh, the button worked. Okay, sorry. Just looking at the slight delay over here. Okay, so here we are in the live scene. Here we've got Bitcoin's price pulled up. Let's get rid of this triangle for just a little bit. We'll talk overall about Bitcoin's price. But first, I just wanted to kind of, I just kind of wanted to program that that's in, or excuse me, I just wanted to finish touching on what I was talking about. Shoot, what was I talking about? It was going to be something positive and inspirational. Oh, I was going to be talking about the lack of security or the cavalier attitude most individuals have who have around, $1,000 to $5,000 in the market. They tend not to concern themselves too much with security. And I think that this is directly related. To the exact same mentality that I see in a lot of newer traders when it comes to money management. So traders without a lot of capital, and without a lot of capital, I mean, I'm talking around $1,000 or less, or, below $5,000, let's just say that. Often those traders will have a very lax concept. And that the reality is that, money management is something that's not taught out there. Trading psychology is not something that's taught out there in most of the educational material. Pretty much all you're going to see out there, beyond this channel, and with very few exceptions, a few other good channels, are going to be people they're talking about the same thing, man. They're talking about triangles and Fibonacci retracements and, support and resistance. And they're talking about, the crypto fear and greed index or whatever the latest, whatever the latest meme indicator is, like the NVT signal ratio, just stuff like that, right? Stuff that doesn't really have a long history and is just kind of exciting and fresh and new. Like, hey, girl, what's up? Woo, woo, woo. Golden Cross, man. Yeah. So, and so anyway, so people, because money management isn't really taught, and because, budgeting and discipline and understanding how to manage money and grow money isn't a natural skill to most people because of the public school system, I think that unfortunately, the same lax attitude towards security is the exact same. It happens for the exact same reason why newer traders, younger traders, think that it's okay to just, degen long. They have a very short time span when they're projecting into the future. They're not really focusing on growing wealth. They're not really focusing on, slow growing. They don't really understand compounding interest. They don't understand the dynamic of, consistent, steady gains. They don't understand how locking in 5% a month can make you extremely wealthy in 3 years. They just don't see the big picture. They see 100x leverage. They see the massive meteoric rise of Bitcoin, and they just want money now, right? It's my pump and I want it now. And that mentality and that attitude never is ever is going to make you money. If you think that you are going to get rich quick overnight in this game, you're not going to. It's not going to happen to you. It might. There is a very small percent chance that you say you got $30,000. There is a small chance that you throw $30,000 all in on one coin and it pumps 200, 300%. And now you're sitting on, $120,000. I've seen it happen to people. And you just feel on top of the world. You feel like you could knock down brick walls with your appendages. And, that's a possibility. But the odds that will happen to you are so infinitesimally small. And the reality is, once that happens to you, then that drug hooks itself into your system, and you often make the same mistake going forward, and you give it all back to the market. This is the same. This is the lottery phenomena. People who win the lottery are not happy in several years, and they end up going bankrupt or losing all their money in the first place, and their level of happiness isn't any greater than when they started. So I think that if people had that same thought process of securing their cryptocurrency as they would toward investing their cryptocurrency, I think they would take security more seriously. And security should be taken seriously. That's why I got these little things right here. This is the Ledger Nano X. It is a fantastic device. I sleep like a baby at night. Okay. You mine Mimi. Can I call you Humanemone? Isn't that all right? I think Humanemone. I would recommend changing the phonetics of your name. You mine meme? Or Humane Mimi? Humane Mimi. Engage. Let's break it. Another storm, another tree down. Do you have enough trees for the expected storm season? No. Yes. No, there's quite a good thing of trees out there. But this was the tree that dropped a branch off the other day during the last storm and took out my van. So, Satoshi Nakafomo, what's going on, man? Do I believe in shorting Bitcoin right here and now? I think it's probably not a terrible idea. I am short on Bitcoin at the moment. Now, I'm not in a full risk position. I'm just hedged. I've been hedged for the last few days. I stayed, again, I shorted up right here, and I stayed short through this whole movement. I'm short right now. I'm not entering into a full risk position one way or the other. I'm not entering into a full risk position one way or the other until I get a good signal. And honestly, I'm going to talk about this a whole lot. We're going into the weekend, so I do want to talk about some more long-term Bitcoin things, where I kind of think Bitcoin's price is in, like on the weekly and on the monthly as we move. It's the 20th, so we're getting closer to the end of the month. I don't really think it's appropriate to be talking about end of month things right now, because we still have a lot of time. And of course, as we know, Bitcoin's price can move quite quickly with high volatility. But damn, girl, that's not a parabolic move. I'm just happy to see you. It's not a surprise. Imprudent people have very low investing capital. 2017 spoiled a lot of people. Ron Legato says, I would like to hear you speak about the last few days of the Fed Reserve Bank getting involved with bank repos. I talked about that yesterday, and I'm going to talk about it. Actually, I don't think I'm going to talk about it a bit today. I don't think that's in our news segment. And, I don't really have a lot of firm, strong opinions on this, man. There's a lot of people running out there with like really firm, strong opinions about these repos. Obviously, it lends to concern in the lending market. But to be quite honest with you, it doesn't really concern me. I have, this is going to be controversial because we have to kind of step outside the realm of cryptocurrency guy, like anti-statist ANCAP, and into like, I am a stock market investor, and, I've looked at budget sheets and measured, I think the Fed is most likely doing the right thing. I don't think that the American economy is in a pending danger, unlike, it seems like everybody else in the world. I think that actually the markets look quite healthy. Profits look quite healthy. Companies look quite healthy. I don't think the economy is the concern. I don't think so there have been bubbles in the economy. There have been economic conditions that lead to recessions or lead to large down movements in the stock market, which affects everything, which affects the global economy. I don't see the conditions for that right now. I see them in like 10 years. I see them in like 5 years maybe, but I don't see them right now. And I think a lot of this is fear porn. I think the most likely thing that's going to happen is, and you also have to understand, we're moving into an election. We're moving into an election, and whenever that happens in America, things tend to get a little like, especially with this election, with social tensions being so heated between the right and the left, with Donald Trump having the legacy that he has. He's one of those presidents where you absolutely adore him or you absolutely hate him for the most part. There's very few people kind of in the middle. Actually, the reality is that's actually completely incongruous with what I actually believe. The reality is most people do not give a rat's ass about Trump, positively or negatively. The majority of Americans don't care about politics, as they should not, right? But because most people are center, most people are not far left, and most people are not far right. Most people are center. They just want government out of their lives for the most part. They may not understand that's what they want, because that is more, you mostly hear that from libertarians and ANCAPs and people who are anti-statists or anti-government. They know how to verbalize the problem. Generally, common folk, common people who don't have a lot of education on the subject of government or politics or economics or finance or anything like that, they know intuitively that they just want to work and live their lives and have a family for the most part. And they just, they don't understand that the more government gets involved, the worse their lives get. But they do understand that intuitively because everybody bitches about taxes. Everybody bitches about how politicians suck. Everybody bitches about Washington. Because so people understand intuitively that government is a terrible solution to just about anything conceivable under the sun, right? Governments suck at just about everything. But they're, just a slight step above, like previous levels of government that we've had, similar to, the Mayan Empire or, the Third Reich or, the British Empire, I would argue. Lots of things that I think are improved with our modern forms of democratic republics or democracies. Moving on, that's getting way into the weeds. Let's talk about Bitcoin for a little bit. Let's just shift right there. But I'll dovetail that. Maybe we'll come back to that later. I think the Fed's doing the right thing. I'm not worried about it. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't really care how much capital they inject into the markets. I think the markets are healthy. I continue to buy stocks every month. And I'll continue to buy stocks every month, even if the market dips like 90%. In fact, I'll probably buy more. That's why I have money on the sidelines. For the exact same situation in cryptocurrency. So, if Bitcoin's price drops to like 4,000, I'll buy more. If Bitcoin's price drops to 6,000, I'll buy more. That's the difference between value investing and trading. Because what I would do as a value investor and as a trader are incongruous. So. But let me touch on that. So I want to touch on that. Mario, yes, I mean, listen, as an ANCAP, I completely agree with you. I think the Fed is wrong. I think quantitative easing is immoral. I think inflation is taxation on the general populace. So absolutely. But again, just as I said, going into the conversation, taking the hat off of, what's good for humanity and society, and as a Bitcoiner and as an ANCAP, let me take that hat off and just talk about, like as a kind of dyed-in-the-wool economist looking at the markets today, what you would typically hear on C-SPAN, CNBC, because that stuff's a little bit more germane to my stock market portfolio, to my equities portfolio. And the reality is, I don't think that America is going to go into a recession in the next 5 years. Now, the only thing that could is, I think, war, right? There's geopolitical things that are going on. I think people are focused like on the markets, on the American markets. I think the American markets are fine. The warning signs are not coming from the markets. The warning signs are not coming from corporate profits. The warning signs are not coming from the yield curve. None of those signs there's nothing wrong economically. I think, I think a lot of people are fear porning because we're moving into an election and they just want to say things that get the public riled up and get them afraid. And people they like to instill fear in people, and people honestly just like to talk about shit, right? Because the reality is, just saying, hey man, the stock markets are good, bye, that's fucking boring. And so people don't want to have a boring show. And you've got all these news anchors and news websites and people and analysts who have to come out here and are expected to say something like, oh, something's going to happen. Whereas, somebody who's a realistic, I think, analyst like myself, somebody who actually looks at these things objectively, I'll come on here and like I'm going to say today, hey guys, not shit to do with Bitcoin. How are you doing? I see so many like younger YouTubers or traders, or some of them are LARPers most likely. They come on and they feel like they have to say, listen guys, there is an impending $15,000 movement. And if you're not on the right side of them, why do you even have to talk like that, man? Like, no rational human person talks like that. Like, if you come into my trading room, if you come to try to work for me as an analyst, if you try to come trade with me and you talk like that, you're not working with me. Like, you have to be a rational, sane human person to be around me or to work for my company or to trade with me or come into my trading desk. So anyways, Having said that, let's move back into Bitcoin. So we are consolidating. Yeah. Like LARP, like as in like there's a lot of people who talk about trading and say they're talk a big game, but if you actually look at they're trading with like a couple $100 and they don't take half the trades that they talk about. So that's a crypto Twitter LARPer. So let's talk about Bitcoin's price. Now the key thing here that I want to point out moving into the future, and we're going to talk about volatility, we're going to talk about the average true range, but let's just talk about price action, where we are via PTP. Obviously the movement yesterday was pretty exciting for a lot of people. Yesterday, when we ended the stream, we were about like right here. Bitcoin's price just went ahead and pumped all the way up. So we actually had a pretty significant movement yesterday, and significant in terms of percentages. We had about yesterday's, true range was about 9%, about 8.5%. So, good afternoon from Barcelona. What's going on, man? Good to see you. So yesterday's movement was good percentage-wise. Great intraday opportunities there. There were trades to be taken on the 1 hour, the 2 hour time frame. Not so much on the 4 hour time frame, unless you took a reversal signal, and I didn't really see a good one. When I was doing my analysis yesterday, and we'll kind of dovetail off of that here in just a little bit. But here on the daily, we did end up closing above the baseline, so we actually did not close a candle below the 30-period Donchian here. It looks like we are going to be flirting with that today. So as I said, and what's interesting is this, what's really interesting is this, this is actually potentially setting us up for a short trade, because as I said yesterday, I would not be taking a short trade. I would not be taking a short trade because we got the short signal from Minx over here, 1, 2, 3, 4 bars ago on the day where I would want to take it, and that violates my 3-bar rule. So I would be unable to take a short trade because that is just a rule. If it's 3 bars past my original primary signal, then I'm not taking the trade. Now, but what is interesting, that movement yesterday pushed Minx back into the static cloud, right? Pushed Minx back into the static cloud. Now, with price potentially closing below the baseline, and if we get another bearish candle that moves Minx out of the static cloud, so we close inside the cloud and then close back outside the static cloud, then that is going to be a continuation signal. And so that is going to be setting up a short trade that I will be able to take. And I'm actually quite looking forward to seeing that if that does happen. Now, on the something else here, Fisher Transform is still pointed downwards, giving us bearish momentum, or at least oscillating to the downside. If we kind of zoom out and look at the wave characteristic of Fisher Transform as well, we don't actually see, I had some people were talking about divergence with me. Some people were talking about a little bit of bullish divergence. I don't really see that. I don't see bullish divergence whatsoever. This really just looks like equidistance to me, especially if you factor in this wick. What really stands out to me now on the daily time frame is going to be Waddah Attar explosion. And I know that you guys have trouble seeing the dead zone, so I'm going to change it from circles to let's make it an area. Okay, let's make it an area, and yeah, let's make it black. Okay, maybe that'll be better. Maybe that's not a great idea. Okay, looks like you guys can see that a little bit better. All right, so this black line down here is the dead zone, okay? And I think it's going to be a little bit more germane if we get off the Bybit chart, which we're going to be looking at price action on, and let's go over to the Bitstamp chart, okay? So the Bitstamp chart is going to have a little bit more historical data for us. I think we can calculate a little bit better of a dead zone because dead zone is going to be based off the average true range indicator. So let's bring open that dead zone. Let's bring open the Waddah Attar here and talk about it. Now, as we can see, the rule here is quite simple. We have an explosion level, and the explosion level in our columns are a momentum indicator, right? It's not an oscillator. It's a momentum indicator. Whereas the dead zone is a volatility indicator. You have two things going on at once in this indicator. You have the explosion level and the columns, which are going to be related to momentum. Now, there is an aspect of volatility in there because the explosion level utilizes the Bollinger Bands for its calculation. So there is an aspect of volatility in there because Bollinger Bands are going to be being calculated based off of volatility as well, at least the size of the Bollinger Bands, or they are interpreted that way. But in all actuality, they do come from momentum as well, which volatility is just a different way to look at momentum. Momentum impacts volatility. Volatility is a derivative of momentum. So volatility, the dead zone here, average true range, is just raw volatility. So what we're looking for is we are looking for momentum to be above historical momentum. So the dead zone is historical volatility to a degree, right? It is a long look back period on average true range, filtered over a long period of time and multiplied by a multiplier that is congruent to the charts. Now, interestingly enough, when I took this indicator and began optimizing it for cryptocurrency, I ran the dead zone. Me and my developer ran the dead zone numbers through a lot of machine learning algorithms to optimize its parameter for length or multiplier. And what's interesting is the default parameter for multiplier, which is 3.7, is pretty damn close to the best parameter no matter what time frame or asset class or chart you run this thing on. For whatever reason, wherever that parameter came from was very, very close to the mark. There are a few times you'll get 3.8, and often you'll get a long percentage in between 3.7 and 3.8, which is curve fitting, in my opinion. That's a little bit of over optimization, and that's always something that you have to be aware of when you're running algos. But 3.7, 3.8 works absolutely fantastic. So we can look at this another way, and we can look at this in a fundamental way as well. I want to point out all the times that Bitcoin has traded at periods of low volatility for extended periods of time. And you can see this just by seeing where you have, large periods of bars, which means you have a lot of volatility, a lot of momentum. Good trades are going on there, both on an intraday and swing basis on the daily. And then you have very low periods of volatility where, there's nothing going on and you largely don't want to be trading Bitcoin. In recent history, let's bring up Waddah explosion right here. In recent history, we have this period in April. So we have this period right here of extremely low volatility. What did that lead to? That led to a large expansion, very violent movement up to the upside for about 2 weeks. If we go over here and we look at this very long drawn out period from February to the end of March, we also have that exact same thing. Interestingly enough, we've talked about this. This was a reversal short that we took on Bitcoin, right? Because we were trading. Obviously, you guys can go back and catch the live stream. We were short on this movement right here. Everybody thought we were going to break out, but we did not. We took the movement short. And then we had about almost a month of literally nothing happening. Literally nothing happening. This was one of the most boring periods of 2019. Was February. It was late February to late March. And then obviously we broke out on April 1st. And we did have the long signal from the long signal coming in on the 31st of March. We talked about that before as well. Now, and then, for the most part, we have good momentum. We don't really have long drawn out periods of Waddah being below the dead zone until we get to this area right here. And it's very difficult for me to not compare this area of price to what we saw over here, right? To what we saw over here, where we have this really long drawn out period of volatility. And, I don't intend this to like really fear monger or be scary or anything like that. But, we kind of have that same kind of setup, right? Very, very pronounced falling dead zone, which comports to falling ATR, falling volatility. You have falling volatility in columns below not only the dead zone, but also below the explosion level for a long period of time. And we actually have a worse situation, I would say right now. We have a worse situation right now where if we look at, if we actually look, the length is becoming impressive, like how long this low volatility has lasted. And again, a little bit more volatile, I think a little bit more price distance and movement, but we're also at a higher price. So we have to realize that. And the other thing too is so let's look at, we were coming off a very large movement that lasted for the most part throughout 2017 and 2018 here in Bitcoin's price. So pretty much a 2-year bull market. And then it took 11 months. Well, it took, 9 months, 9 months to get to August and really enter in 9 months to enter into September and draw out this very long period of low volatility from September to November 12th, where we actually began the breakdown process. This is a little bit different. And so it doesn't surprise me that we actually have a little bit more volatility because we're only coming off of really a 4-month bull market, where we bottomed out and consolidated, from the end of November to the end of March. And then we broke out in April. So we had 3 months of consolidation, of accumulation. And then we broke out in April. And that expansion lasted until June. So, really, it was a 3-month bull market. It's a 3-month bull market, to be quite honest with you. And then we've overall had this topping pattern for the last 3 months that really looks like distribution to me. So, the last few days, I've kind of gone back and forth on being a little bit bullish or bearish, but I am going to have to, and it's not the color of the candle. I'm going to have to revert back to my base assumption where I was, 3 days ago, before I entertained the idea that because altcoins were really high, they're likely going to dump, and that's likely going to result in a bullish movement from Bitcoin. I was 1 day behind on that, and it wasn't really the bullish Bitcoin movement that I wanted to see. So looking at this and taking the volatility into account and looking at the topping pattern and looking at everything that's kind of come before us. It's really hard to not have a bearish posture on this, and I do have a bearish posture on this. So that is why I answered the question earlier, like, do I think it's a good move to short Bitcoin right here, right now? I'm not getting a signal from it, but from a fundamental perspective, that seems to be the right move. That seems to be the right move. You know, we have, if we look at, you know, here's the thing. When we're talking about, I think that a lot of people are probably going to be, well, I think a lot of people out there are extremely bullish, for example, right now. But a lot of people, I know a lot of analysts too, are feeling bearish as well. And naturally, as they always do, they're talking about our support and resistance levels. Now, there's nothing, listen, I've talked about this before. I talk about support and resistance levels. I talk about supply and demand. It is a thing, right? You can trade them. You don't have to, but you can. And I think that for the most part, for newer traders, they tend to get in the way. I do trade support and resistance levels. They do play a part in my strategy to a degree. But they're not, you do not have to use them. And they're not something that works all the time. Most people use supply and demand, support and resistance levels to trade reversals, and you need confirmation. Most people are just going to blindly naked buy an area, and that's not really the way to do things. But let's talk about I think the folly of doing that, because okay, let's look back. I mean, it's funny. You can even go back and look at my analysis for last year, right? And you can catch me making the same mistake sometimes, where and all the analysts are doing it, especially, no offense, man, but a lot of these YouTubers, man, I've been doing this stuff since I've been live streaming. I've been doing the show in one degree or another since 2017. I never stopped making videos. So I've been doing this this will almost be the third year of doing this, right? Or beginning the third year, right? I'm almost done with 2 years of doing this. And I was around and posting on Twitter and everything prior to that. And Kraken Crypto has been around, started this company to do exactly this, even earlier than that. And again, was a trader long before that as well. So, but you can go back to my videos, some of my videos, not all of them, but some of them in 2018, and you can catch me making the same mistake where I'm drawing out levels of support and resistance, and I'm looking for areas where price potentially could turn around. But the reality is this: markets are built up much more slowly than they can be torn down, right? Price appreciation happens slowly, even though it seems very fast in hindsight. And then price depreciation happens like that. Price depreciation happens like that. And you can see that. You can see how true that is with Bitcoin, right? If you look at on average, how many green candles you need to build up to a new swing high compared to how many bearish candles you need to knock it down, it's almost like a ratio of 2 to 1, right? You need twice as many bullish candles to build up, and then that same bullish movement is torn down with a half as many bearish days, right? Which means, and this is just a phenomenon that you'll notice not only in the stock market, but you'll also notice it in cryptocurrency, is that supply, an overabundance of supply affects the market much more rapidly than an increase in demand, okay? So markets can be torn down much quicker than they can be built back up. And when you are entering into a bearish trend, as a trend trader, you don't try to predict when the market will stop, because you don't want it to. You want that fucking puppy to keep going down if you're shorting this thing to the hilt, man. Do I think people are on the sidelines waiting to react to back next week? Nope, I don't. I don't think that there's anybody. I mean, maybe there's some people, but do I think that there's this large amount of capital that's sitting on the sidelines waiting to see how back does? No, I don't think that. I don't think that for the most part, institutional money gives a rat's ass about backed. Justin, we are eager for the 101 video of ATR. When? Christmas. No. There's so many 101 videos that I want to make, my friend, and I really need to get on that. But my first and foremost priority with what I do with a lot of my energy has to be my own trading, and also has to be the premium group, because the premium group has grown tremendously, and I have a lot more students than I kind of had anticipated having. That's why I've had to bring on other analysts to help me out and had to train them. And that does take a lot of my time, you know. So honestly, I had intentions to build out a lot more videos and a lot quicker, video, and I had different ideas for what I wanted to do with this channel, right? I really wanted this to be, I really wanted to have a whole suite of trading crypto 101s, and I am behind on that, but it's not for lack of desire or for lack of wanting, or not because I don't value you guys or want to educate you guys. It's just I have so many people that are now enrolled in my course that takes precedence, because those are people who have made a commitment to me and I've made a commitment to them, and that's sacred to me. I have to make sure that I take that very seriously. Do I hedge my position with options? No, I do not. There you go, Wendy. Just like relationships, hard to build, easy to destroy. So, I don't think, I don't think that it's going to be actually correct to, at this point in time, be looking for areas where price will turn around. I don't think that you want to do that. I don't think that's the right way to look at this chart, and it doesn't really matter what numbers you throw out, because I'm going to sit here, because that's unfalsifiable language, man. If I give you guys a number, those numbers are dynamic and changing in time. So what is the point of even saying that? The indicators that you choose to select are going to give you the signals that you need of when to take a position. And anything else is just kind of speculation. Now, as a value investor, I will say this. If I see Bitcoin's price down around $6,000, I would be interested to buy. I'd be interested to pull a little bit of capital that I have on the sidelines in. But really, for me, as a Bitcoin investor, I really want to see price. I really get excited to see sub $3,000 prices. Now, as an analyst, do I think that's coming? I don't see any indication that that's going to happen. But I'm just telling you, as a value investor, if I saw Bitcoin's price down around 3,000 to 2,000, I would absolutely go insane with buying. Now, doesn't mean we're going to go there anytime soon. And there still is a possibility that we do break to the upside out of this consolidation. It could be reaccumulation. I don't think so. Lower highs, equal lows, increasing selling pressure, increasing order book supply to the increasing supply side. Orders are coming into the books as we speak and have been. I think that the entire book is posturing to the downside, and I think that a lot of these people looking for the break to the upside are short-lived. Now, does that not mean we can't get a real big, real dumb, stupid Bitcoin stop loss hunt up to the upside? Yeah, but I actually don't think that's extremely likely. I think that most likely we just resolve to the downside from this. So, but I'll wait for the short signal to put on my full risk position. I will wait for the indications from my strategy, from my system, and take the trade there. But I'm not going to lie to you guys. The more this goes on, the more this gets drawn out. The more it does look pretty bearish to me, man. The more it looks pretty bearish. And although I don't trade the fundamentals of cryptocurrency, I trade the technicals. The technicals don't call for a short trade at this time right now. But just looking at the overall posturing of this market, I'm bearish. Mr. Ether says, I'm not ready for a commitment. I know, man. The September 23rd backed launch might be a sell the fact event, just like the CME futures launch back in 2017 marked the start of the bear market. What do you guys think? That is definitely a possibility, man. One can't help but see the similarities between, I would say that there is a difference actually. But let's touch the first base layer of what you're saying. So from the first level of analysis, it's pretty simple there, where you have where you have a massive institution coming in, something that's been anticipated for a long time, and that a lot of people have built up that this is going to save the market or lead to the next round of bullish expansion. And it's no coincidence that it's also coming out at roughly the same time. The CME futures launched very, deep into Bitcoin's bullish market. And even though this bullish market, as we just went over, has been much shorter in time horizon, simultaneously, we are also deep into this year's bullish expansion, right? Bitcoin's price is, almost 200%. So or more than 200% from top to low. I mean, we went from 3,000 to 13,000. It's almost 4x. So, yeah, I don't think obviously you can see the similarities there. Now, a little bit more nuance, scratching the surface a little bit on that. The CMEs were cash settled futures, and the CMEs were coming in blatantly with the objective to tame Bitcoin's price. If you look at the statements from the who the heck, what's his name? The director of the CME said, we will tame Bitcoin's price when they launched cash settled futures. Cash settled futures are also, infamous for their ability to manipulate markets, because you don't need to actually hold the underlying asset and expose yourself to risk. You can inject just tons and tons of capital from an investment bank and completely manipulate a market, especially one with the volume and liquidity that Bitcoin's price does, especially now that we know that about 90% of all volume is fake. Wash trading from these jank exchanges that just want to take your money. So, yeah, I think the CME is directly responsible for manipulating Bitcoin's price to one degree or the other. I mean, you don't think that market manipulation happens, you're living in some bubble fantasy world. Market manipulation happens every single day. It's happening right now. It's happening on this ticker symbol. It's probably happening on this exchange that I'm watching right now. And, this is philosophical, but every time you press a button as a market participant, you are engaging in market manipulation because you're altering the order book. But so we have the CME that was launched at the height of the bull market, coming in with with a negative perspective on cryptocurrency, with the intended goal to manipulate cryptocurrency's price to the downside. Basically stated it in cold plain fact. And the CME futures, cash settled futures, having a direct documented history of manipulating silver prices. Right? It's one of the biggest scandals and one of the biggest financial scandals of the last decade, and nobody talks about it. So having said that, so you can see the similarities between, you just say futures, institution, top of bull market, and you're like, oh yeah, that's similar. But when you dig into the surface a little bit, CME, kind of like the devil over here on one shoulder, backed, coming in, physically delivered Bitcoin, physically delivered futures. Historically, physically delivered futures have been positive for spaces. When you go back to the commodities markets, if you go to the derivatives markets, generally the commodities markets and commodity derivatives. So that's really where we're going to see a lot of physically delivered futures. But they're coming in very bullish on Bitcoin, very supportive of Bitcoin. Building up the backed warehouse, building up custodial solutions. Forming good relationships with innovators and companies in the space. So I think that in kind, it's actually quite different. I think it's actually quite different. I think the back will actually be good for Bitcoin's price. But I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's going to be enough to save Bitcoin, so to speak. Caprica says, I take it back testing has proven that taking a trade on the fourth or more candle after initiator fires is not profitable. Correct. Wendy says, spike down to 7.3 thousand, consolidate between 8 and 9,000 for a couple months, a quick dig down to grab some liquidity, and then moon. Magic 8 Ball told me. Yeah, of course, man. What's going on, Goblin? He says the measured move of the triangle points underneath 7,000. It's actually around 6,000, yep. But given the ongoing demand at prices under 10K, I'm not sure how long 7 to 8K is sustainable. Yeah, man, I don't see a lot of, that's another thing when I'm looking at like these support levels. Honestly, like the only thing that seems to make sense to me is this $6,000 floor. And we saw how well it worked coming up. But again, that's also bullish breaker theory right there. So everybody talked, even myself was like, hey man, it's possible that we're running some pretty heavy resistance around that $6,000 mark. And we just was like, 6,000 what? Bitcoin's price just flying by like, can't you hear me knocking? No. Shit happens, man. That's why you just trade the indicators. clean and objective. Man, what is up with that Streamlabs bot, dude? How do I turn that thing off? Carl Roberts says, I've moved over from Facebook as I never win the daily draw. Hey, man. Good luck to you, brother. Okay, so it is 12:45. It's 12:45. Let's go talk about I got this really nice, gaming pad and it lights up and it's all cool and everything. And I'm looking forward to kind of like highlighting it when I do, like more pre-recorded videos. But man, it just like I keep it really clean in here and it just collects like every single speck of dust, man. It's annoying. Anyways, let's go to Ethereum. So Ethereum, the Ethereum dollar did show a nice sign of strength yesterday. And we do have to wait until the daily close today, but Ethereum on the daily did cross under on Minx yesterday. So did cross under on Minx yesterday. I did talk about this a little bit yesterday, and interestingly enough, now we are getting the daily time transformation reversal sell signal right now after about 6 purple dots of death. We also, of course, have waning bullish momentum in the form of not only a lighter green candle, which just indicates that the current column is lower than the previous column and might potentially indicate a shift in momentum. But of course, you can kind of see that stair stepping all the way up. It's just something to be aware of. So that's why you're always looking for confluence. As you can see with these other bars, you never had any other factor that was confluential with that until today, where you actually have Minx below the noise line and inside static. And you also have the time transformation reversal sell signal. And if we do look back, let's go look back at the time transformation sell signals that we've gotten in the past on Ethereum to the dollar. We get one right here. And I'd say that's a pretty damn good signal. And we get one right here. And it's not the best signal in the world. Might hit a stop loss on that one. Yeah, that's not actually a very good one. But it was a good sell signal because you do enter into consolidation for a while. So not, again, you have to understand, these are sell signals. These aren't short signals. We're trend traders, right? But we have, the bullish expansion and we have the bullish entry right here. And we ride this trade up to the upside. And then we get told to sell right there, which I think is a good exit point. Then we get a sell signal right here. That did set us up for a pretty good reversal and a good area to get out of our long from down here. And here. And here. Here. And it doesn't work as well in a parabolic market to the upside. But we're not in a parabolic market right now. We're in a bullish movement to the upside. So I do put some good weight on this. This is a good reversal signal. Where do we see, where can we again, we've talked about this, but if we look at our moving averages, this becomes kind of nasty to look at. Because we have everything curling up right around where we are right now with just the simple 100 exponential above us. So let's actually look at something a little bit more clear. Let's go look at the weekly. And so if we look at the weekly, this becomes a little bit more clear. So on the weekly, we don't really see anything extremely positive. We are closing the weekly above the potentially above the 21 exponential moving average. Now we have the 100 exponential and the 55 exponential resting above overhead, just resting above overhead. Those act as significant levels of weekly resistance. You can see that it was the floor and then it broke, delineated the bear market. We recently tried to break over that on the weekly, but it did not work out too well. It was a fake out. And again, kind of what we look for too. If we're looking for short-term momentums, we're looking for that 13 to cross over the 21. And when that happens, typically we have bullish expansion. And as we can see right now, we are not in that state right now after this kind of fake out. Now, I will say again, we have formed a higher low on the weekly time frame here on Ethereum, which, I would like to believe is a good thing. The problem is, something that we're always, have to be cognizant of and kind of on the lookout for is, do we see a possible decoupling of Bitcoin and altcoin prices? Because we have to remember, when Bitcoin topped, altcoins pumped. So as Bitcoin was moving down, alts just started blasting to the roof. So could we see a really bearish movement from Bitcoin right here and altcoins hold their value or even appreciate? That would be the definition of alt season. Obviously on the weekly, 2 weeks ago, we did have the buy signal coming in on Ethereum as well. This was the last one that we had got on that. And again, it does not work well in a bearish trend. We ignore those things in a bearish trend. But when price is overall moving sideways, they typically can be good signs. So pretty congested here on the daily. So if we keep it nice and clean over here on the weekly, over here with our Donchian, then, Ethereum is in a bullish condition. We're a little overextended right now. Minx has crossed underneath the noise line. Time transformation is giving us a sell signal, and Waddah shows some waning momentum. I do think a pullback is likely for Ethereum. Where do we have our dynamic level of support? Right around that 194 area, a little bit higher than our initial entry. So I think that, exiting the position on Ethereum is valid. I would be doing that today. If one was still holding an Ethereum long position, I would be exiting that. And I would be looking to see how price reacts to dynamic support at 194 or waiting for a continuation signal. Looking over at ETH Bitcoin, on the other hand, let's go look over at ETH Bitcoin. Again, same posture. Now, we don't actually have the sell signal. The ETH Bitcoin pair has been stronger, and this has been pronounced by the fact that Bitcoin's price has not been performing well. So not only has Ethereum been bullish, but simultaneously, Bitcoin has also been quite dumpy, even with yesterday's movement. But we do have on today's candle, Minx crossing under noise into the static area. We don't yet have that sell signal from Fisher Transform, but I want to point out to you that the dollar pairs tend to move with less volatility than the Bitcoin pairs, right? The Bitcoin pairs tend to move more, right? They have more volatility. They have more momentum. So I would be looking at even though the Ethereum Bitcoin pair has more volume, I would be wary. Robert Hemmick, thanks so much for the sub over there on YouTube, my friend. I would be very wary of waiting for the sell signal on Ethereum Bitcoin when you have the sell signal on Ethereum USD staring you in the face. Because likely, and just as we know this, like people are like, oh man, I'll just eat this. The problem with exit indicators in cryptocurrency is that you generally don't on the daily, you generally don't just get small stair-stepping candles down that tell you when to, gracefully exit a position. You just get up, fuck you. Up, fuck you. I mean, that's how crypto tends to work. So, finding that good exit indicator can often be quite difficult. This is why I typically start people off with Minx, because as you can see, unlike time transformation, which will often require a movement to the downside, and those movements to the downside in cryptocurrency can just be highly volatile. If you look at Minx will actually cross underneath because this is measuring something different. It's a more relative indicator. Minx will actually cross under on an up candle, as we saw with Ethereum USD. Let's go look at Ethereum USD. You can actually see that we crossed under on an up candle, so Minx sold the top. Right? And that Minx is designed to do that. So a lot of people, especially if they're not used to using an indicator in that fashion, they'll come into the group and they'll get Minx and they're like, man, I'm like getting out of trades too much. And I'm like, yeah, but It works when it works. And when it works, you'll be happy. And you just keep doing the same thing over time and you'll make money. What's up, Wally? Well, I never. Last time I heard something like that was in Chalman's Cantina, where they wouldn't serve my kind. Yeah, man. We don't like droids around here. Oh, we gotta look at Phoenix. There you go. Yeah, we got a ways to go to the lows, man. Got about another 60% to the bottom to go. All right, it's 12:56. So we're going to get ready for the break, guys. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. I want to talk about current events, and we'll look at a few more charts and markets. And what are some other topics that I want to talk about today? Some other topics that I want to talk about today are going to be, let's see if I can get to them. We're going to talk about the CME group launching Bitcoin options. We're going to talk about the IMF and their stance on stablecoins. We're going to talk about the Congress discussing cryptocurrency with the SEC. We're also going to talk about the Electronic Arts tweets. EA Sports, it's in the game. So before we do that, though, guys, let's go talk about Bybit before we go to break. Now, as a trader, selecting our exchange is going to be extremely important. As a trader, I'm often asked, what are the metrics that I use to evaluate an exchange? I always say the exact same three things. You guys know this because I've said this many, many, many times. Security, ease of use, and customer service. We talked yesterday. Make sure to go watch yesterday's video if you guys want some pointers and tips on securing your exchange account, on conducting yourself appropriately in the cryptocurrency realm. Obviously, security is something that we have to take quite seriously. But at the end of the day, you just have, if you're looking for security in cryptocurrency, you just have to look at the history of an exchange. You have to look at the security protocols, and you cannot trade on small jank exchanges that offer you fantastic promises of wealth with altcoins or some such nonsense like that. You have to look at the track record, and you have to look at how exchanges handle themselves. But I would argue that having an exchange that gives you access to margin allows you to actually take the best security possible, because with access to leverage and margin, that means that you do not have to deposit all of your funds onto an exchange to trade proper position sizes. You can actually deposit a fraction of your funds and utilize that leverage to trade your full position size like you had all your money on the exchange, and keep the rest of your funds in cold storage where it is safe and secure. That is what I do. Ease of use. I think Bybit's a pretty fantastic exchange to use ease of use wise. You can pretty much do anything that you want. If you're new to trading, you don't know jack shit, it's pretty simple. Limit, market stops, everything is pretty well laid out. But they've got some advanced order features, more stuff coming down the pipeline. They continue to focus and improve their platform. They just added CoinSwap the other day, which was pretty big. Other things that they'll be adding in the future is the ability to just click and drag and move your orders around. And save drawing tools, all those things that people want. They're all coming. If you guys can go look at their roadmap, it's right there. Third is customer service, and this is why I trade on Bybit. All that other stuff aside, if you have a problem on BitMEX, they do not care. You will not get a refund if something goes wrong on BitMEX. If you lose money due to system overload, you are not going to get a refund. I've seen a few issues happen on Bybit, and guess what they've done every single time? They've refunded the money. Right? So that means something to me. It means I know that I can hit this button right here, and if I got a problem, they're going to take care of it. And that's what they've done every single time. And that's why I like Bybit, if for no other reason. Really is. That really does mean a whole lot, because you're going to make mistakes in trading. And if you have a platform that actually gives a fuck and helps you out, that makes a big difference, right? So anyways, if you guys want to check out Bybit for yourself, it is the exchange that I use for most of my Bitcoin trading. You guys can check out the link in the description. It is bybit.krakencryptocurrency.com or bybit.com/a/cc. We actually can offer you a little bit of a speciality thing with that link. Most cannot. They just are like, hey, it's a link and it does stuff. No, if you use our link, you actually can get an additional deposit bonus. If you deposit 0.1 BTC, Bybit will give you $60 for free. If you deposit 0.2, they'll give you $110. That only works until the end of September. You guys do what you want. You can just go to bybit.com for yourself, or you can stay on BitMEX and get system overloaded all the time. Doesn't matter to me. Just check it out. Anyways, moving on, guys. When we come back, we're going to talk about so much. Don't go anywhere, and let me know in the chat what coins you would like me to look at. See you in a moment. Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you so much for hanging in there for the break. GBU Wally, man, thank you so much for the $4.99, brother. He says, when I come back, when backed, Neo USDT and Neo BTC on Binance. Pretty please, learn, earn, and don't get burned. Anything for you, my man. And thank you so much for the generous contribution. Let's go check it out. Neo to the Bitcoinities. All right, well, that's a bullish chart on the monthly. All right, I'm not gonna lie. Neo's price is pretty low. I hold a bag of Neo. I like Neo quite a bit. I like the team. Let's go look at the weekly. On the weekly. All right, listen. Reversal signals do not work very well in a descending market, in a strong bearish trend. What denotes a bearish trend? When do buy signals not work that well? When do time transformation reversal signals not work that well? When Waddah Attar is showing you that you are in a bearish trend. Bearish trend right here by Waddah columns denoted above the explosion level. Now let's go over here. Do we have that same thing? Do we have Waddah columns above the explosion level? No, we don't. In fact, we have price below the dead zone. What does that typically mean? That typically means accumulation. And we can kind of see this on the daily. And we also have this area that I've marked out here. This is from the daily time frame. This is an order block. This is a demand zone for Neo, as I would spell it. And we are below the dead zone, meaning we are in a period of consolidation. Price is low. We are below historical volatility, and we are now getting that weekly buy signal. So I actually think that Neo still looks quite good for the long term. On the weekly, we have a long-term target of 0.001788, which is a reversion to the mean trade. That is going to be a 100% in price. Okay, going over to the daily. Where are we at on the daily? Do we have a daily trend trade on the table? No, we do not. We are kind of just struggling to get back above and stay above this demand zone where price has been picked up recently. We can see it be picked up here. We can see the large significant buy here, the spike, the buy signal on the daily, consolidation, spike up, reversion to the mean, rejection from the daily baseline, duck back down, reaccumulation, higher low, expansion. What I would really like to see here is a higher low above 0.00860, 0.00850. I'd like to see a higher low above that area. Pretty much right in the order block right here. I'd like to see the supply area hold. And then again, I think that if the alts continue to have their bullish expansion here, it is possible that we just continue to consolidate here for an extended period of time. Daily time transformation does look a little overextended. We are getting that crossover. And of course, Minx is also giving us that take profit on your long signal right here. Of course, we would have been able to take the long trade on this candle right here because we were not 3 bars past. We did take that long on Neo USDT. That was a profitable trade. But yeah, it was, it was from the original buy signal right here on time transformation, which would have been valid because we had low volatility. We had about a 15% movement to the top, about 17%, which means on average you might have been getting anywhere from 5 to 8%. Not the best trade in the world, but also good. Neo still in the accumulation area, in my opinion, on the daily, but more so, I think the evidence for that is a little bit stronger on the weekly. What would invalidate this? What would invalidate this right now would be a close below the 830 region. At that point in time, I would feel that this area has been invalidated, unless it is a wick down below 830, which I would be okay with seeing. But if we get daily closes below 830, I would feel very uncomfortable about this area and the overall alt market in general. And I would have to say that this area has been invalidated and be looking for a new accumulation area or a new area of supply. Because just because it's in an area of supply does not mean that the larger market will make those investors that are accumulating NEO at this point in time conducive. So the daily trade as a trader, is there a daily trade on the table? No, in fact, one would be exiting a trade right now if one had not already. We already got out of our NEO USDT position. But as far as a long-term hold, you are still in that area to be buying NEO. Super juicy bueno? All right, bet. All right, and NEO USDT. Same thing on the weekly time frame. Do we have a strong movement to the downside? No, of course we have less data. As we can see here, we don't have enough data to yet plot a dead zone whatsoever. And we do have a weekly buy signal right here. I would say overall, again, in this floor. So here's your bullish order block right here. Bullish order block is stretching between $5, 5.675, 6.301. That's where you would want to potentially have limit orders to sell. What would invalidate this? A weekly close below that level. You are getting a buy signal right now after moving out of weekly expansion. You know, the USDT markets are a little bit different than the BTC markets. Of course, the BTC market's congruent upon Bitcoin's price appreciation and action. So one could argue that you actually get clearer signals from the USDT market. But of course, the USDT market is also influenced by the movement of Tether and the USD to USDT premium. But one can argue on how effective that is as well. But I'm more interested in the Tether markets here at just seeing, you know, just overall trends. So again, weekly buy signal coming in off time transformation. Do we have a lot of follow through on that at this point in time? No. Would I really want to see price, you know, would I be comfortable with dollar cost averaging now that we are out of a strong bearish trend as denoted by Waddah Attar explosion? Would I be comfortable with dollar cost averaging down 35% down here to our accumulation zone? Potentially, that is technically the way that one would be doing it with the way that Waddah is signaling itself right now. Is that something I'm going to be doing? No. Getting over to the daily, let's look at the daily right here. And very similar, this does look very similar to the BTC markets, where we do have a bottom, a little bit, not really much a higher low, just, you know, establishing a floor right here on the daily time frame. And again, I think that this is going to be pretty congruent with the signal that we got off of that weekly reversal signal coming from this area right here. Really, actually, this area right here, to be quite honest with you. Closing below the baseline right now, that means trades are off the table for the most part on daily swing trades. We're also getting the take profit long signal from from Minx and from time transformation as well. Waddah Attar explosion actually on this column is back below the dead zone on the daily as well. What does this mean? Accumulation zone when we are below the dead zone, which is exactly what we have right now. Quite a high dead zone, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, just kind of the first, you know, strong bear market on the USDT, you know, strong movements to the downside, a little bit of accumulation right here. Our first break above. Again, what I'd like to see is a higher low as we come down off of this. I'd like to see that 8,761, 8,727 level hold, forming this higher low kind of around the $9 area, the 9 USDT area, and then maybe bullish expansion off of that and getting the full signal on a break back above the baseline, sitting at $9, 9.429. Congruent with our momentum oscillators, giving us the long signal as well. Of course, that's something that we have to wait for. That is going to be a trend trading signal. But as far as an area to accumulate, I think if one is bullish on NEO, then that $9 area is kind of where I'd want to be looking for. Invalidated by a daily close below 8,727, in which case I would want to be out of the market, unless, of course, it was a wick down below, in which case that is okay. Wick down below and push back up, that's fine. Daily close below 8,727, I would not be fine with that. At that point, I would be diverting back to the weekly time frame because we would be knocking out the daily. Oh, shoot. I did not mean to do that. that point, I'd be reverting back to the weekly, as I said, and watching for that $6 level. Pretty much would be splitting the baby between 5,675 and 6,301. Wally says, you mentioned percentage profits on various trades, but what do you do with BTC pairs? Can you see USD values of the trades in TV? Of course. Calculated by TradingView takes into account BTC price. The trading journal that we provide to you as well also will calculate this as well. To get the real dollar profit for a BTC trade, you need to take into account what Bitcoin's price was, how many dollars. It's easy if you are moving directly from USD to Bitcoin to Neo to selling Neo for BTC to moving back to dollars. That's easy to track the profit. It's not more difficult, not with our tracking sheet, not with the journal that we provide. Because that is going to be tracking the value of BTC at the beginning. And if you've been keeping this journal for a while, eventually all your numbers will add up. But, at the end of the day, if you really want all the numbers, right? So maybe that's not what you need. I bought into Bitcoin and I spent this many dollars and I currently have this amount in my portfolio. That's really all that matters. But for taxation purposes and for really getting the true numbers, you're going to want something like our journal, in which case you plug in the value of BTC at the beginning of your trade and the value of BTC after your trade for a BTC trade to really get the dollar, to really get the requirement. Jake says, hey, I signed up for Binance US using your link. Is there a required deposit amount for the bonus $15? You have to trade $100 in volume. You get the 15 bucks. That is how it works, sir. Yeah. Complete fiat account verification and at least 100 USD in trading volume. Buy and or sell any trading pairs to receive $15 USD. Just go do a $100 market buy on something that's going up, market sell, you made 15 bucks. And if price has to drop 15% for you to lose that $15. So I think that, again, that's it's free money. If you think of it that way, like literally, if you just market buy anything for $100 and then immediately sell it, okay, maybe you lost $1 or maybe you lost a couple bucks, but you get the $15. So seems like a pretty good risk to reward. That's like a 4x on your money right there. But thank you, man. I highly appreciate that. Hey, Justin, should we take the position based on the BitMEX leaderboard? No. The BitMEX leaderboard is only... Let's go look at the BitMEX leaderboard. So the BitMEX leaderboard is for one thing and one thing only. This is what the BitMEX leader... Whoa, did BitMEX just do this? I was just on BitMEX's website yesterday. When did they do this? Oh, this is fucking sexy, baby. Woo-wee. There we go. So this is the BitMEX leaderboard. There is only one purpose for the BitMEX leaderboard, and that is this. This is what the BitMEX leaderboard is for. You sit here and you look at this and you think, fuck, man, what am I doing with my life? Oh my God. That's the purpose of the BitMEX leaderboard. That is the only purpose for the BitMEX leaderboard. It is not updated. Is not updated on any regular basis. It is like a day behind, so you're never sure exactly where they're taking their position. I assume you're talking about the coinfarm.online leaderboard. Again, I'm not exactly sure when this is updated, but I know it's not like as soon as they put on a position. So I think that this don't get sucked back into BitMEX, but it's so pretty. Here we go. Leaderboard. Right. So we can go to the leaderboard right here, and we can see that 74%. It says that 74% are long, 26% are short. We do not know. Oh, actually, okay. So this says that it's updated. It was updated today. Okay, cool. So I guess this is updated every day. But I was having this conversation with somebody, and they said that it's like on a delay, and we're not sure exactly like how accurate this is. I don't know, but I would not recommend you do that, because you have to understand that, yeah, the leaderboard is full of killer whales. So if they're telegraphing information, if they're telegraphing information, they're not telegraphing that information to lose money. These people are in this game to do nothing but manipulate price and take your money. So I would argue that if they're telegraphing that 74% of them are long, I would not be surprised to see them take price short, because these people this dude has made a profit of 8,000 Bitcoin, almost 7,500 Bitcoin. So he can just set, he or she probably has a second account where they are taking price in the other direction. Probably the way these guys probably work is one is long, and maybe multiples of these are long and short. Traders on this level have multiple accounts, and they're doing multiple things simultaneously. Alameda Research, number 4. I guarantee you they have other accounts besides this. This is not their primary account, or this is their primary account, but Wendy, what am I doing with my life? So no, I do not think one should take a position based on the BitMEX leaderboard, because you don't know. You don't have, all you see is like their general directional bias and not the nuances of their position. And you kind of need the nuances of that position. Do I think that Neo can go back to $50? No. Maybe. I don't see that in the cards, man. I see Neo going to $16. I talked about a reversion to the mean trade here on Neo, and that would be a movement up. That'd be about a 80% movement on Neo USD. And as far as Neo BTC goes, we're talking almost 100% move. Moving back up to 001788, which is about a 92% move. Okay, guys, so let's go talk about the news of the day. Because I see Quick Groove Mind is always winning, and Bitcoin moves in the way in whichever way it takes position. Hey, if it's something you want to experiment with testing, man. I mean, if there's data out there, we don't want to ignore it. Cape Town Brown, what's up, my dude? Okay, so the CME group, which need no introduction, they are obviously a leader in derivatives trading. They have announced that they will launch Bitcoin options contracts in Q1 of 2020. This comes as a great excitement to individuals that want to trade Bitcoin options and don't want to go trade on Deribit. And this comes as a collective fuck from all the people that just learned how to trade futures positions when they realize that now they have to learn an entirely different market to just keep up. Yay. Now, following on their Bitcoin futures launch in 2017, CME hopes to expand its derivative offerings to include Bitcoin options contracts by early next year, pending regulatory approval. Now, 7,000 CME Bitcoin futures contracts, which is about 35,000 Bitcoin, one contract on the CME is 5 Bitcoins, have traded on average each day. The exchange said today, the success of which leads them to desire the introduction of another product designed to, quote, help institutions and professional traders manage spot market Bitcoin exposure, as well as hedge Bitcoin futures positions in a regulated exchange environment. Tim McCourt, global head of equity and alternative investment products at CME, added, quote, based on the increasing client demand and robust growth in our Bitcoin futures markets, we believe the launch of options will provide our clients with additional flexibility to trade and hedge their Bitcoin price risk. When the cameras were turned, or when he thought the microphones were off, unfortunately, the microphones heard him gloating, petting a cat, and twirling his mustache, saying, yes, come into my lair, you motherfuckers. So, these are interesting things to note. Now, interestingly enough, let's talk about options contracts real quick, because we don't talk about options contracts a lot because we're not we don't do that around here, sir. Sorry, we're not like that. Quan, could you ask the kids to get off the car, please, off the man's horse? That's his property. We don't do that. The thing is, options contracts are wildly popular in the United States, less so across the pond and in certain parts of Asia. The reason why is because contracts for difference, which is a derivative of an asset, right? So you have a stock, right? And if you buy the stock, you have physical ownership. That's a physically delivered settlement, right? So if you go on TD Ameritrade or Fidelity or Interactive Brokers or whatever, right? Whatever. If you buy a stock, you have ownership of that stock, right? You have physical delivery of the stock, right? Similar on cryptocurrency exchanges. Cryptocurrency exchanges are physically delivered, right? Because even though, you have your own wallet, theoretically, although they're just entries on ledgers, as far as the centralized exchange is concerned, you have the ability to withdraw your funds, ideally, under, regular operating conditions whenever you want to, i.e. you have physical ownership of the asset. And if you withdraw it to your cold storage wallet, it's yours. This is different. So a contract for difference, a CFD, is a derivative. It is a contract between you and the broker for that asset, right? So you are artificially trading it. They are, by all rights, typically supposed to purchase it and hold it as collateral, but often that cannot be the case. So you are just trading raw speculation. Now, contracts for difference can lead to significant problems. Contracts for difference were outlawed back during the 2008 financial crisis due to a lot of people losing money on them because when you have a shady broker and they are not actually holding the underlying and people aren't paying attention to the mathematics, one could theoretically trade more contracts for difference on an asset or on a stock than actual stocks exist, for example. So there's no way to cover that should things require settlement. Now, so contracts for difference were banned in the United States. Thank you so much. Jack the Snipper, thank you so much for the sub over there on YouTube. Sorry, we're just going to take a brief tangent. The Area 51 raid is actually happening right now. This can't be real. Is this real? This isn't real. Yeah, this isn't real. Over 100 people stormed the Area 51 gate, 2 people arrested. Over 2 million people had signed up for the Storm Area 51 Facebook event. The storming of Area 51 is officially underway, though so far the turnabout is a bit smaller than originally anticipated. Yeah, if we Naruto run, we can move faster than their bullets. Let's see them aliens. Despite this, a group of 100 people showed up outside the Area 51 gate early Friday morning. At least 2 people were arrested. One person was charged with indecent exposure after urinating on the facility's gate. Another person was detained after attempting to go underneath the gate. For the most part, however, the stormers were well behaved. What up, dude? Ah, here we go. Here's the video. Clap alien cheeks. Clap them cheeks. Clap them cheeks. Clap them cheeks. I don't know if you guys can hear this, but they are chanting "clap dem cheeks." Stunning. This is why aliens won't come down, because we're stupid. All right, good stuff. Okay, cool. But yeah, that's a meme, Scott. That didn't happen. Back to the CME. Listen, guys, I'm sorry, man, but aliens don't exist, guys. I'm sorry, man. Or, you know, I'm not saying that aliens don't exist, but aliens, I definitely do not believe that aliens have made contact with humanity. Shit wouldn't be this crazy, man. Here's the sad reality, man. And I'm willing to be wrong on this. You know, I don't think there's a lot of any evidence to support extraterrestrial life. And I know that I'm probably going to lose about 50 subscribers for this, but it is my genuine belief and feeling that, in reality, we don't know what happens when you die. Every person is going to have to deal with the existential horror of death or non-existence at some point. This is literally the definition of existentialism. And so human beings search for meaning pretty much anywhere they want. There is no real conclusive evidence to point to the existence of aliens. And again, the reality is people just want to feel, I think that the reality is people just want to feel that there has to be some reason why shit is so fucked up and why life is in general kind of full of misery and pain and suffering and chaos. And the reality is it's not because there's some evil extraterrestrial ET conspiracy. It's not because the Illuminati run everything. It's because that's how life is. And nobody on this planet has anything figured out. People think that like governments and like mustache twirling evil men like have this all on lockdown. They don't, dude. Like, yeah, like evil shit happens all over the place. But most human beings are just stupid, man. And, you know, people are just trying to do the best they can. Not from a positive perspective or mentality, man. But, you know, everybody has a hedonic set point. Happiness is not the default state of human existence. And everybody's just trying to live their own best life, and nobody's got this world figured out, man. Not even the Illuminati. Please explain the Giza pyramids. They were large pieces of stone that were constructed. And actually, the argument is that there's no possible way that the Egyptians could have built them. Yes, there is, man. There's been a lot of new evidence that shows how a culture with their knowledge of science and explanation could make them. Oh, man, these fittings are razor precise and cut. No, they weren't. They're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. The grinding and cutting tools and carving techniques that they had back then could have absolutely built them. I'm not saying aliens don't exist, but clap them cheeks, man. All right, we're devolving into chaos here. Bitcoin futures, guys. We were talking about contracts for difference. Now, contracts for difference are outlawed in the United States. because from the SEC's perspective and the CFTC's perspective, opened up investors, retail investors, to too much downside exposure and risk. So they banned those. And as a result, options, which were really the last bastion of high liquidity derivatives that people could trade without really ponying up the money to go trade on the CME futures and trade futures contracts, which requires a significantly higher amount of capital just to play on that arena. People move to options contracts, and options contracts are wildly popular now. Unfortunately, with options contracts, depending on if you sell options contracts, you have basically unlimited downside exposure and limited upside exposure. If you buy options contracts, which is generally safer, you have pretty much limited risk and unlimited gain. Yep, I've watched the Ancient Alien series, and I've read all of Eric von Daniken's books. I've also read all the evidence that pretty much debunks that stuff. What about the Great Squirrel? Some say Satoshi is an alien. Watch Justin live now. Lose faith in humanity. Nah, man, like the reality that you guys have to understand, like my philosophy about life. I'm an empiricist. I believe in Aristotelian, empiricism and objectivism. And I think that the reality is there is potentially there is not a given to you transcendent meaning to life. Your purpose on Earth as a physical human being with a hedonic set point. Hedonic set point means that there is no the hedonic set point is how you feel by default, your happiness level, okay? And for some human beings, their hedonic set point is way up here, right? They're just happy all the time. But for most of us, it's down here. And the hedonic set point is pretty close to misery, to be quite honest with you. When you factor in the existentialism of life, when you factor in the realization of your own death, and every human being has to go through that realization themselves, when you factor in all of the terrible things that can occur throughout life, when you factor in pain and suffering, and the fact that you have to realize that at some point in the future, the last person ever on human earth will think about you, and then you will be forgotten into the dust of history, no matter how famous you are or how popular you are. You have to look at the heat death of the universe. There's all these negative things that you can think about, right? But they're all real things that we have to talk about and realize and deal with on a personal existential level, right? And in your own life, you're going to have pain, you're going to have relationships, you're going to have loss, you're going to have suffering, you're going to have misery, you're going to see malevolence, you're going to see chaos, you're going to see evil, you're going to see malevolence, you're going to see all these things in life. And that's really easy to knock you off your square, especially because most people's hedonic set point is not happiness. It's down here, more closer to just baseline. And then we do things that make us happy, and it's like getting a hit of endorphins and hormones, and our happiness level goes up, and then slowly it comes back down, and then it goes back up, and then it comes back down. This is very evident in relationships when you have that honeymoon period, and then that hedonic set point comes back down, and now you're just sitting next to somebody where you don't have that euphoric love and lust and happiness that you had initially. And so now you have to kind of deal, is this somebody that I actually wanted to spend my life with? And do we agree with finances and ethics and morals and how to raise kids and blah, blah, blah. So I think that the purpose of life is to find meaning. And I highly agree with Jordan Peterson on these levels. The way to find meaning in spite of all that is to find purpose in what you do, is to speak the truth, be honest, be as strong and courageous and brave as you possibly can, so that you can stand up when everybody is cowering in the spite of everything that I just mentioned, and be that strong person that takes your small existence and transcends and finds your own purpose and meaning. And I think the only way to do that is by basically, as JBP says, picking up a rock and moving it over here, right? You're as small and weak and as fragile as I am, and the fact that I have to die and heat death of the universe and blah, 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 at least, listen here, I could pick that rock up and move it from point A to point B, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I think we are all tasked with finding our meaning and purpose in life, and so I pretty much push back on all these things that look for transcendent meaning outside of yourself. At the end of the day, life is rough. You're going to die. You got to deal with that. And I think that instead of having your head in the clouds, I think that it is better if we all focus on being excellent towards one another, striving for meaning, improving our societies, and learning from history all the mistakes that have sent society down the route of chaos before. Because now with the advent of technology and the same technology that allows me to talk to you right now, we can actually maybe possibly take a different route through history than we have every other single time, where societies have been built up, we've created order, and then descended into chaos. And I think that we might have an opportunity to change that, but it's not going to if everybody is still looking for these transcendent ideas outside of the realm of reality and not focusing on, hey man, how can I just be a better person and contribute to society and live my own best life? I don't know. Thoughts? Chowdery says, I should start one more channel named The Cracking Life, live stream to teach the meaning of life by Justin the Godman. No. That don't want to be a Godman, but today I found out what my special purpose is for. Gosh, what a great time I had. The universe is so huge, it's insane to think we are all alone in this infinite universe. Yeah, it is insane, but it's possible. Possible, man. It's possible that, sadly, society is, what is that? The Planck dilemma? That's not Planck's constant. What is that? We talked about this before, right? Where, you know, with all our technology and ability to see something, why have we not seen proof of extraterrestrial existence? Because it's possible that society's just, you know, intelligent life in this universe is not capable of evolving beyond the nuclear technology and ends up devolving into chaos. We're not able to get off the planet before the planet dies. Or, you know, like there's, you know, again, I'm actually open to extraterrestrial existence out there. Absolutely, completely open. I think it's more probable than not that there's other intelligent life on this planet or other intelligent life in the universe. I don't know if intelligent life can actually survive getting off the rock that they're birthed on. I want to believe that, and that's what I'm kind of moving us towards because at the end of the day, hey, man, the universe is evolving and we can make different choices. But I do not believe the common phrase that there are like an alien conspiracy on planet Earth and the Illuminati rules everything with an evil mustache twirling plan for all of us. I think that is nonsense. Even if it is true, how can you live your life like that, right? Because we know that people in mass, when united, have more power than centralized authority, right? So that's why the government's power is just like David Bowie's power in the Labyrinth, right? You have no power over me, right? When people actually grow up and band together and be strong individuals, centralized authorities that attempt to manipulate the mass populace have no power. Their power is illusory. Moving right along, let's go talk about the IMF now that we've talked about evil mustache twirling men in small rooms. Yeah, the Fermi paradox. Thank you, man. I always get that wrong. All right, so let's go talk about the IMF. The IMF contemplates the risks and rewards of stablecoins. What? Oh, man, I just lost half of all my subscribers. Well, darn, man. Darn. Although I did get an extra like right there, man. So thank you guys so much for the likes. So, published in a recent post on the IMF blog. Did you know that the IMF have a blog? They got a blog. The international organization, the International Monetary Fund, they say that stablecoins pose a number of risks to global finance, one of which is the disintermediation. Dun, 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 dun. Disintermediation is the removal of intermediaries in economics from a supply chain or cutting out the middlemen in connection with a transaction or a series of transactions. Instead of going through traditional distribution channels, which had some type of intermediary, companies may now deal with customers directly, for example, via the internet. Hence the use of factory direct and direct from the factory to mean the same thing. Man, disintermediation means removing intermediaries? Oh my God, terrible So stablecoins pose a number of risks to global finance. One includes putting banks out of a job, they mean to say. In other words, cutting out the middleman now that peer-to-peer technology is revolutionizing industry. Right, putting banks out of a job. So as stablecoin issuers provide consumers with direct access to local and international payment options, traditional banking networks will be increasingly cut out of financial transactions with the adoption of this new technology. Now, while the IMF acknowledges that the innovation has the potential to, quote, bring significant benefits to customers and society, end quote, through improved efficiency, greater competition, and broader financial inclusion, banks will not take this lying down and will likely develop their own digital currency innovations, as I have alluded to. We are going to see central bank digital assets and corporate coins be, in the interim, more successful than decentralized cryptocurrencies. Put a pin in that. Justin Wise, 2019. You're going to see Libra be more popular than Bitcoin. Pinned. All right, let's go. Now, the IMF blog warns that, quote, new monopolies may arise, end quote. Tech giants could use their networks to shut out competition and monetize user data. It argues that new standards for data protection, control, and ownership, as well as interoperability, will be necessary in this space to prevent any one actor from accumulating too much power or influence in the financial space. Basically, they're saying that, hey, you still need us because as fucked up as we are and as terrible for society as we are, at least we kept each other from just amassing all power, right? We kept like all power, divided between 7, and then we just colluded on whatever we wanted to do. Again, I don't think that's the way the world works in reality, but now weaker currencies may face threat. We talked about the threat that Libra poses to central banks yesterday. Insofar as them having a basket of fiat currencies and to back up their Libra coin, and if Libra does become something akin to a world reserve currency, or basically used for not world reserve currency, but basically used for commerce across the entire globe, then the changes that Libra may or may not make to their fiat reserves will have impacts upon the economy of that fiat currency and originating nation state. So countries suffering from high inflation and weak institutions, I'm looking at you, Turkey, might be abandoned by the people in favor of stablecoins based on foreign fiat. The introduction of stable type digital currencies could undermine monetary policy, financial development, and economic growth for smaller nations, leading to a larger global economic instability. All right. The post also touches on the matter of seigniorage, which comes from the old French word seigneurage, or right of the Lord to mint money. Well, we don't do king's rights anymore, guys. This is 2019. Time to grow the fuck up. Anyways, let me know what you guys' thoughts on this are. This is coming from the IMF. But you don't want to discount their thoughts. Obviously, they generally post, what they've done in this column is they have taken all of the things that we've discussed about stablecoins and Libra basically and condensed them into one laundry list of here's the good and here's the bad. What do you think about it? So let me know what you guys think about it. And getting close to the end of what's going on today, coming from CoinSpeaker, the U.S. Congress to discuss cryptocurrency with the SEC right after BACT is launched. So on September 19th, the Committee on Financial Services came to an agreement that the topic oversight of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Wall Street's cop on the beat, would be the topic of discussion, and September 24th was chosen as the D-Day, which, just for a reminder, is the day after BACT launches. Now, this hearing will consist of the chairman of the SEC, Jay Clayton, Commissioner Hester Pierce, go Hester, that's my girl, who is also known as Crypto Mom, and 3 other commissioners. So looking forward to seeing what is going to be coming out of the Congress. on that day. And of course, look for the market to move on the 24th. So potentially won't see a move until the 24th, but definitely see a move then. All right, let's highlight what we could potentially point to as the fundamental reason for the pump yesterday, which is Electronic Arts tweets, invest in crypto. So yes, we heard this all over the space, but they weren't talking about cryptocurrency. Unfortunately, big time game publisher Electronic Arts tweeted, quote, invest in crypto, unquote, seemingly out of the blue. The strange tweet is, however, just a promotion for the new season of their hit game, Apex Legends Season 3. So most took the tweet to mean cryptocurrencies, or at least played along with the joke. EA definitely knew the double meaning, though, of course, since they were actually promoting a new contender to Apex Legends called Crypto. Even Binance got in on the joke, responding with a GIF to affirm the reference. So no, EA is likely not releasing anything blockchain related, nor do they have some cryptocurrency release planned. They were purely provoking us before the release of a new game. Still, at least, we can now be sure that cryptocurrency is on the minds of some within the company just to play that little joke on us. So, my thoughts are, do you guys think that companies, so let's take this a little bit further. Do you think that like major companies like EA are lagging behind startups in the blockchain industry? In the blockchain gaming world, you've got things like Tron and you got other things out there that are attempting to break into that field. Do you think we'll ever see companies like EA jump into the cryptocurrency industry? Let us know your thoughts below in the comments. Let us know in the live chat. I'd really be interested to hear that. We'll talk about some of this other stuff tomorrow. So let's get back over into the charts. Let's go check in with Bitcoin. All right. There's a whole lot of nothingness going on in Crypto Johns. All right, so let's scroll back over. You guys are still talking about UFOs. I love it. Mr. Ether says, well, at least you still have 3 of us. Yeah, man. Yeah, you're right. Mario says, maybe mankind already destructed itself several times before in several mass extinction events. Plato the philosopher talked about Atlantis and even Lemuria before that. We just don't know for sure. Absolutely. We definitely don't know for sure. I would argue that, when it came to geography, I think Plato was largely just talking out of his ass, even though he said some other good stuff. I think that he was writing a story about Atlantis because he was just giving a soliloquy of a realistic state or an ideal state. But it's possible that there was actually ancient knowledge that has been lost throughout time. I'm absolutely open to that. Do I believe we live in a simulated reality? I think that, dude, with how much stuff doesn't make sense to me on a daily basis, I think that that's likely. And, I'm a pretty big fan of physics. And so, not that I'm a physicist or anything, but, I keep up to date on like new stuff with quantum, and I listen, I like to read books on quantum mechanics and try to understand it as well as I can. And parallel universes and simulation theory and all these things. Obviously it seems that the statistics are likely that we are living in a simulated reality, but, that would seem to make a whole lot of sense. Maybe that's why things don't make sense. Maybe that's why there is no overarching meaning. Maybe that's why we deal with this existential threat. I've thought about that a lot. When I look into the core of my soul and I think, okay, when I think about death, right? Sorry to turn this topic here, guys, but it's just something important to think about. When I think about death, I feel that that's just pretty much it, like the end of consciousness, oblivion, annihilation, whatever you guys want to call it. And that's pretty terrifying, right? So, you have to find meaning in life. And for me, that is being a good father, and that is striving, that is achieving, and that is doing everything that I possibly can to improve my life and the lives of people around me, and to live life like this is my only life, right? And that's not, again, one could say unintelligently, well, that's an excuse to be hedonic or just descend into hedonism. The problem with that is that, you get a better life and you leave a better legacy if you don't do that. If you actually use your mind and intelligence and actually develop, higher pleasures, higher things that give you greater satisfaction, are deeper lasting, are deeper meaning. And here's the reality: none of us know what lies on the other side of that veil, man, between life and death. So I'd like to plan like there's something beyond that. But if we are living in a simulated reality, that would seem to make sense. Maybe that's why that is. Maybe that's why almost all of us feel that existential feeling of dread when we think about death, because maybe we're just simulated code and there is no such thing as a soul. Or maybe there is, and I'm just completely wrong. And, God made us all blind and confused and weird so that we could, explore our own meaning in reality, I don't know. Or maybe the people like Drumvalo Melchizedek are actually correct. I don't know. I think people like that are kooks and cracks and full of crap, but that's just me. Just bought 2 tickets to see Ad Astra. It cost $43. When the frig did movies get so expensive? I've been to countries that still have feudal systems for sure, man. Games might lose a lot of customers under the age of 18 if they integrate crypto into gaming. That's true. As long as the books of face promise to make it permissionless, everything will be okay. All right, guys. Whoa, hey, Bitcoin, what are you doing, man? Let's go. Are we going to be getting a 15-minute momentum long? Low, broke the low. Might be an LTF long on the table for today. All right. It's 1:57, guys. So, with that being said, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Highly appreciated. Thank you so much, guys. 140 viewers, 40 likes. Highly appreciated. Let's slide over here because we do have to start the wrap up, guys. All right, guys. Let's talk about a few things. All right, here we go. Everything's good. First off, guys, thank you so much for joining me for another exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin Market Update and Justin's thoughts on simulated reality, physics, aliens, Area 51, Naruto running, and overall existential meaning. I've been your host, that guy who talked about all that stuff, and this has been Breaking Bitcoin, where we do break down cryptocurrency prices, where we do break down the fundamental news, where we do generally talk about Naruto running and protecting the ice cream truck at all costs. So, thank you guys so much for your continued support. If you do want to support the show, make sure to subscribe and hit the thumbs up button, or follow us wherever you happen to be. Share us around, family, friends, people you don't even like. Doesn't really matter. We appreciate the support. If you guys would like to trade along with us more closely, if you guys would like to receive personal mentoring, learn from the course, utilize our indicators, learn our rules and use our tools and follow everything that we do, you guys can check out premium.crackingcryptocurrency.com. We'd be happy to teach you how to build your own trading strategy, how to approach the markets, how to view your money, how to have money management and trading psychology, all important skills that you're just not going to get anywhere else, guys. That's what we focus on. That's what we do. And I think that's what we're very, very good at. You can check out our results at results.crackingcryptocurrency.com or current results.crackingcryptocurrency.com. We are currently operating at about 42% profit this month, last time I checked. So, you guys have been absolutely fantastic today. Thank you so much. I will not be here for Monday's show, so it's going to be a 3-day weekend for you guys again. I am sorry. I do have some life stuff coming up on Monday that I have to deal with. Hopefully, following that, everything should be winding down to normal for several months, and we'll be able to be here Monday through Friday. Potentially might be able to even throw in some weekend shows. We are going to be integrating a lot of exciting stuff moving forward, especially for the guys in the trading group, especially for guys who are taking the course, especially for guys who are current students right now. Got so much exciting stuff moving into Q4 of 2019 and so much stuff lined up in 2020. Words cannot describe how excited I am for everything that we have coming forward and what's going on in the market as well. TLDR, make sure to refer back to the key points in the video if you guys want to get refreshed on my analysis. Make sure to hop in the Discord, discord.krakencryptocurrency.com, to keep the conversation going over the weekend and stay tuned in to what we're doing in the market as well as what's happening, and to work on your trading and your fundamental analysis as well, guys. All right. That's all. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, and or sarcastic remarks, leave them in the or death threats. Questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks, and or death threats, leave them in the comment section down below. I'll try to get back to you within 48 hours. I've been Justin. Trade safely, and we'll be back here on Tuesday to crack that cryptocurrency, guys. Trade safely.